Hello and welcome. My name is Isaac Mashman, and this is going to be the most important video of my career. Over the next 15 minutes, I'll be sharing every single strategy that I have implemented and am continuing to implement so I can position myself as a celebrity business figure over the next 12 to 36 months. Nothing's off of the table, so you'll want to watch this entire thing. Hey, what's going on? I hope that you are having a massive amount of success this year. Things are working all in your favor, and if they aren't, I know that they will continue to improve as long as you yourself are improving. Now, as I already said in the introduction, this video is going to be very in-depth. I want to share all of the strategies, all of the tactics that I myself will be using to continue to position myself as a celebrity business figure. I'm not coming from a place of narcissism. I'm not coming from a place of vanity. I am coming from a place of service and strategy. This is things that nobody else wants to talk about and share online to this degree, unless you're paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars or signing up for their course and program. But I just want to put it all out on the table in front of me. So over the next 12 to 36 months, as this becomes my reality, you'll be able to look back on this and say, wow, Isaac did exactly what he said he was going to do, and it got him results. Personal branding as a whole, if you think about it from an industry perspective, is relatively new. The term personal brand was coined by a man named Tom Peters, who is especially well known in the business management space. He's since retired. He's in his late 80s. He's like 86, and he lived a great life, had a phenomenal career, and in the 1997, he wrote an article called The Brand Called You. It is a fantastic read. You can find it online. And he published this first on Fast Company. And in this paper, he discusses how executives and every other individual, every professional, should be branding themselves so they can start attracting results. If we look back to Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, way back in the 1930s, in the chapter Organized Planning, what Napoleon Hill talks about is packaging and creating a portfolio that speaks for you with all of your results and all of your successes to help you land a higher paying position and ultimately get paid what you are worth. That is an early example of personal branding. Your personal brand is you. It is who you are. And in this marketplace that is ever increasing in competition and ultimately visibility, what you are fighting for is attention. You have to think about the numbers. Let's look at statistics. As of today, there are roughly 4 billion people on the internet. And out of that 4 billion, a large chunk of them are creating content. And I want to speak to you who want to move from the consumerism place into the creator space, because that is going to be what gets you results. And there are 3 main reasons why you'd want to build out your personal brand. Money is one of them. But outside of that, we also have mission. So you are driven by some sense of philanthropy. You want to drive awareness to a cause. That basically means that you're a purpose-driven individual. There's also vanity, which we see this especially in the entertainment space. People want to be well-known just because it feels good. It is something that, boosts their ego and makes them, feel all high and mighty. So whether it's money, mission, vanity, or a combination of those 3 that is driving you, understand that so you can stay motivated whenever those results might not be coming as quickly as you would like. Now, your personal brand existed from the moment you were born. When you came out of your mother's womb, she gave you a name, determined your political affiliation, your faith, and nurtured into you all of those characteristics and aspects that make you who you are today. Have you ever thought about it like that? If we look throughout history, Genghis Khan, Jesus Christ, the Prophet Muhammad, Adam and Eve, all of these people had personal brands. Politicians don't get elected based off of policy nearly as much as they get elected off of their personality. And so you yourself need to take all of these pieces of information and apply it to your own personal brand strategy so you can come across as an established authority, as a public figure, and as somebody who is credible, somebody who can be followed, respected, and ultimately in demand. Now, I first got started consciously, notice I say the word consciously, building my personal brand back in 2017. That is when my entire entrepreneur journey started. And over the past 6 to 7 years, I am extremely proud of what I've been able to build, because I went from being what I call a digital obscurity. Nobody knew who I was not Googleable, I was not omnipresent, and I had no authority, which are massive issues. And ultimately, obscurity is the enemy of success. So I took that inexistence and I stepped into existence through taking various strategies, some of which I'll continue to share in this video. And I had an aha moment, so to speak, a head smack, wait a second moment earlier this year, when I realized that a lot of what I wanted to accomplish back when I got started, from having a Google Knowledge panel to building an audience to being trusted to being an expert, I basically achieved. And that was a really cool realization, because I started to change my perspective on all of the various email pitches that I receive on a daily basis to invest in companies, to partner up with people, to come on for podcast interviews. And I started to realize that these are people who are seeking me out, and I need to respect and appreciate their time and efforts. And that I also need to respect and appreciate everything that I have done so I can start having opportunities come to me. And that is indicative of a successful personal brand. I had a conversation yesterday with the Chief Operating Officer of Mashman Consulting Group, Eric Chow, and we were talking about what is the indicator that you move from being a public figure into the celebrity space. And one of the biggest indicators that we came to the conclusion of was you are being sought after. People are coming to you with ease. Opportunities consistently find you, rather than you having to go out and find those opportunities yourself. To where you could go in public and it's no longer, hi, my name is Slim Shady, right? Rather, hey, I know who you are, here's my name. And that's a massive psychological difference, and it gives you entirely different leverage in that relationship. I mean, you think about the authors that you read, right? Tom Clancy, Dean Koontz, J.K. Rowling, all of these authors have their books on millions of shelves across the world, and you could recognize them by their name alone and automatically want to purchase a book because of the association with that author. Have you ever thought about this? And so one of my big goals, and this has always been a goal of mine, is to build up my personal brand to such a degree where I myself am sought after. And I myself am somebody who could be perceived as that celebrity business figure. And for the first time in my life, I have the exact strategy and the steps that I need to take in order to make that dream, that vision, into my reality. And that's really cool. And I want to also share a little bit of insight into why I even want to do this, because not everybody wants to become famous. And I'm not here to say that I myself necessarily want to become famous, in so much as I want to be trusted. And I want to be trusted at a very high scale. And the reason why is ultimately to help me in my life, to help me get into better rooms, into better situations, to hire better doctors, to hire better dentists, to hire better landscapers, to have better clients. There is no downside outside of a sacrifice of privacy to building your personal brand to a high level. Privacy is something that you have to accept giving up. You think about a politician, and whenever they go and run for office, or think about the president, they get snooped into. Their entire past gets dissected. And as a celebrity, that happens to a degree, but in the business world, not so much. Obviously, you want to do your research on Richard Branson and Bill Gates and, Mark Cuban and Elon Musk. But the average business figure, let's take Grant Cardone, Ed Mylett, Andy Frisella, some of these other authors like Timothy Ferriss, Brendan Bouchard, David Goggins, they are not having people that are going back to their childhood and their high school friends and having conversations with them, but they are still well known, and a lot of their past is out there for the public to see and consume, because that aspect of their story is ultimately who they are, and then their career is what they are known for. And so you combine that personal hook with that professional marketing message. And that right there is identity positioning. Now, this goes into one of the first initial strategies that I am applying here. And I will probably go through 4 or 5 of these different steps. And I have a feeling this video might be a little bit more than 15 minutes. Earlier this year, I wrote a paper, an academic paper for that matter, that I published on Figshare, Academia, Mendeley Data, a bunch of other places, called Identity Positioning, a Macroscopic View on Personal Branding. And what I talk about in that paper is how most people online and most personal brand consultants and experts usually focus on one strategy or a micro approach to a person's personal brand. Whereas I believe to be effective, you have to take a more macro approach and focus on the individual for who they are, those characteristics that make them unique, the same reason you have the class clown or the most likely to succeed, the most athletic, thinking about high school yearbooks, and you combine those personal traits with their professional image and their professional career, and that is how you can position them as not just a professional, but as a person who can establish rapport with their audience, to where people are following them not just for what value they can provide, but for who the individual actually is. Think about your celebrity fan or your I suppose, favorite celebrities, right? You know a lot of pieces of information about them, not just what they're known for. Or you think about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he has so many things under his belt, so much experience, from being a pro wrestler, to being a movie star, to appearing in television shows, to owning Terramana tequila and Moa energy drinks and everything else, right? He is a multifaceted individual that is not known for one singular thing. That's an interesting thought if you actually take a step back and evaluate that. And then you go to your other favorite celebrities. Let's take Kim Kardashian, right? She started out being known obviously for a sex tape, but then she turned that into a reality television star, into a serial entrepreneur, into this person who is one of the most famous individuals who has ever walked the face of this planet. But again, she is not known for one singular thing. She is known as Kim Kardashian. And so I wrote this paper to dive into the motivating factors behind building your personal brand, as well as the strategy steps that you can start taking to grow it and scale it in a way that establishes emotional rapport and professional trust. The paper is currently available. It's about 8 pages. And I wrote this paper as an intermission to my second edition of my book, Personal Branding, a Manifesto on Fame and Influence. I published the first edition, which you can see behind me, in 2021. It became the #1 new release in public relations on Amazon, as well as a top 10 bestseller in that category. And I published that book to talk about the what and why of personal branding. What is it and why should you be building it? And it's relatively short. I feel like it could have been better. So what am I doing a couple years later? With all of my new knowledge and experience, I'm writing a second edition, which I'm publishing next year. But identity positioning as an academic paper sets me apart as somebody who is actually diving and searching for depth in this work and in this field. Personal branding as a whole is a relatively new industry, so it lacks that professional structure that other industries such as law or doctors have in being able to practice. This means that anybody can effectively label themselves as a personal brand expert and be able to start charging and working with people, albeit they don't have any credibility and authority in order to do so. So in this paper, I am setting a new strategy that professionals can use, as well as consumers and new creators in other industries can apply so they can help get better results. And in that paper, I did it academically rather than publishing it on a traditional site or LinkedIn or Medium or my personal blog, because I wanted to be able to get high quality citations in the long run, to where now college students and researchers and scholars can use this paper in their own research to get new perspectives on the subject of personal branding, which helps me position myself as that authority and as that individual who is more than just a practicing professional, but I am a industry-changing, innovative disruptor, so to speak. So that is the first strategy. The second is writing the second edition of my book, which is going to be probably 4 to 5 times the length of my first one, over 200 pages. And I'm going to dive deep into not only the what and why of personal branding, but talk about reputation management, talk about psychology, talk about relationships, and that will be a huge thing that I can leverage on stage, in sales, as a lead magnet, and be able to pass out as a business card. It looks great to have a book, but to have a book that is over 200 pages and hit that best-selling list on Amazon or other websites with massive widespread distribution, it gives me the appearance that I went through a traditional publishing house, even though I'm self-publishing this work. Anybody can write a book. But in order to write something that is quality and to get the most out of it, you have to make it appear as if you have a group of individuals working for you in order to achieve a particular result. So that is the second strategy that I'm implementing. The third is going to be using high quality podcast interviews and getting on as many of them as possible. I'm not being particularly picky with how many or how large the audience might need to be, But what I am doing is having enough conversations on enough varying subject matter to where now people have an entire backlog that they can go back and research me and listen to my content from 5 years ago to today and see my evolution and see my transition, as well as see how my expertise has developed and grown. And having that backlog is a long-term strategy that, although does not generate me revenue initially, down the line, being able to say, hey, I've been on over 100 plus interviews or 500 plus interviews, which ultimately I'm working towards, is a huge testament to not only your authority and credibility, because podcast hosts are effectively edifying you by inviting you on for a conversation, and you're also getting exposure to their own audience, but it also shows a term of commitment on your end that, hey, I am not just somebody who is new to this, but I have been doing these interviews for over a decade, or I've been doing this consistently, and I have an entire backlog that you can check out. That will allow me to land higher quality podcast interviews on larger stages, because they'll be able to see, hey, this guy pops up and has this track record, I can invite him on, which means I can leverage those larger audiences to become well-known in various industries and various fields, not just in the personal branding and business space, but to the general entertainment space as well. In addition to podcast interviews, I am launching my new show, Call It Excessive with Isaac Mashman, before the end of 2024. And part of doing this podcast is showing my personal side, as well as having conversations with industry leaders and public figures and entertainers and creators who are typically out of reach. And I'll have these conversations, and at the end I'll ask them, well, hey James, what is something that you've done in your career that other people would call and refer to as excessive? And I'll do this over the next 3 years and 5 years and have a high quality charting podcast show, which will be promoted by the algorithms and people will share, and that I'll be able to also monetize through promoting Mashman Consulting Group, and it'll be a win-win situation. And on top of that, it will also show people a little bit more about me. And that's a mistake I made with my earlier podcast. I kept it so formal. I kept it so business focused. I came across almost as a talking head. And now I'm coming across as Isaac Mashman. And then the professional side of me, you can absolutely trust and get value from. But I also want to show you that I'm the nerd. I'm the coffee addict. I love the Lord of the Rings. I love the outdoors. I love bicycling. And all of these other personal traits about me and life stories that can establish a deeper layer of emotional connectivity, a deeper layer of rapport. So that is the third strategy that I'm implementing. Well, third or fourth. Next, I'm leveraging the public speaking circuit. So through a podcast interview that I did earlier this year on The Pond Digger by Eric Triplett, we had a great conversation talking about how water feature professionals and general contractors can leverage their personal brands to gain business. And that is an industry that I don't work with. But my knowledge and expertise was able to apply to that industry and help them get results. And through that interview, one of the listeners, who was also connected to Eric, reached out and invited me to come speak at the Atlantic OWASP Professional Conference in Denver, Colorado. So I've wanted to do the speaking circuit for some time, but this is the big break that I needed. So now I have a track record. So what I'll do is I'll go and present later this month. I'll have a killer presentation that is recorded. And then from there, I'll package that up, post it on YouTube, post it across my socials, and then I'll take that and send it out to speaker bureaus to where I could potentially get listed on Eagles Talent, Washington Speaker Bureau, Big Speak, and these other bureaus that celebrities are typically featured on. Again, the Patrick Bet-David, Grant Cardone, Ty Lopez figures in the business space. And what I'm doing is I'm doing this in a way to where I'm not coming across as some course seller, program seller, guru. I'm not trying to come across as a guru. I'm working to come across as a business leader who is a celebrity executive, effectively. Somebody like Ryan Serhant, or maybe take the founder of some of these commercial companies that have been doing business for 30 or 40 years and now all of a sudden come onto the scene and they're automatically trusted, right? A Barbara Corcoran, a Mark Cuban, a Damon John. I am working to be at that level, so that means that anytime I put my stamp of approval on something, it will automatically succeed because it is Isaac Mashman who is associated with it. And then I'll be well known to where I could be walking in public and get recognized, and I'll be able to provide value to them or help serve them or open up my network and provide value at a very high scale because I have access to those rooms that are closed off. That is why you want to build out your personal brand, to lower the objection rate, to lower the chances of getting told no. because you have done something worth following, worth trusting, and worth supporting. It's not just ego. This is a strategy play so I can build Mashman Consulting Group, Mashman Investments, and Mashman Properties into a generational legacy business I can pass down to my children and have a skyscraper in the skyline or an entire office floor dedicated to it, and then lead into other philanthropic efforts of my own, such as Mashman Global. And using the speaking circuit is one of the best ways to establish credibility and also generate revenue, because you are automatically coming onto stage with an immense amount of leverage by being the person who is introduced and booked and paid for to show up. So that means that every person in the audience automatically trusts you that much more and would want to work with you, purchase your book, listen to your content, subscribe to your podcast, all of that good stuff. And so I'll take this speaking engagement and use this to land more engagements heading into 2025. That's pretty awesome, right? Now, the next strategy, I believe we're on to number 5 or number 6 right now, would be leveraging press and leveraging interviews, quotes. This year alone, I've already been featured in Forbes, I was already featured in Entrepreneur, and I was also featured in a newspaper, the Belgrade News, which is also getting national syndication through the APG Publishers Group. I landed that quote, guess what? Through pitching myself. I have never once engaged in the pay-to-win tactics online, the fake followers, the fake press, the fake Forbes feature, the fake newswire, none of that garbage. So I have built all of this holistically and organically, which I'm extremely proud of. And I'll be leveraging press over the next 12 to 36 months to get me in front of not only more people, because the larger the platform, the larger the readership and the larger the credibility, but I'll also be using it to set the stage for Google and to fill Google with all of these amazing results about, hey, Isaac was featured here, he was interviewed here, he was quoted in this article, and that shows a track record, right? And that's what I am building right now. And that's what people look for. Like, think about your mentors that you follow. You don't follow people who don't have a track record. You are searching for a track record of success. And so the more quotes and the more places I get featured on, the more visibility as well as the more credibility. And this is something I'm taking to a very high level and am continuing to land interviews and also be associated with different publications. So for example, I did an interview last month with America's Small Business Network, ASBN.com. I reached out, I pitched them, and I came on a couple weeks later. And then from there, I wrote an article for ASBN.com, which I sent out to their editing team. And now I'm becoming a contributor for ASBN.com. And that leads me into the next strategy. Contributing high quality pieces, articles, blogs to publications. I will be working over the next 12 to 36 months to land not only ASBN.com, which my first article is coming out soon, but also potentially, and I'm not making any guarantees, Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc. Magazine, HuffPost, CNBC, Success, Fortune, all of these different publications that have a very large, audience in the business world, right? And a lot of awareness. And I'll leverage their credibility, their brand credibility, to build my own. Think about it. If you follow somebody and you find out that they write for Business Insider or Forbes, you will naturally trust them more, and that will change the perception you have of that individual in your brain and in your mind. So I'll be leveraging contributor pieces in order to scale my personal brand. And then finally, the last strategy that I want to talk about today, outside of obviously possibly throwing local events, which kind of ties into the public speaking circuit, is going to be creating high quality content just like this video. Tactical, strategic value. Anybody can provide value, but are you providing strategic value? That's the question I want to leave you with. And so I'll be creating social media content with a 2-to-1 ratio, so 2 business posts, 1 personal, about personal branding, public relations, things you could do to improve your image, things that you could do to improve your visibility, improve your content, right? There's so many things that I could discuss, which is why I particularly love the personal branding industry, because I am not limited to 1 or 2 subject matters, but I'll be creating this content and posting it aggressively across a wide range of platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., and that's not all of them that I'm using right now, to get in front of more people. Because every single time you make a social media post, you know what you are doing? You are selling from stage. Remarkable. You don't have to be on stage to sell from stage. Social media is your stage. Wow. Rewind that, listen to that back. And so continuing to create video content, which the algorithm picks up and promotes, doing video content such as this, as well as vlogs. So I'll be vlogging my trip to Denver and just showcasing different aspects of who I am and what I'm doing and what I'm building in order to help increase my visibility and how many people I'm reaching and talking to. And the cool thing about having some of that personal content is it doesn't matter if you don't have an interest in the personal branding industry or what value you might be able to get from me, you can still follow me for Isaac Mashman. When I pivoted from business to business to business, people weren't following me for what value or expertise I could provide to them because I wasn't an expert. But they were following me as Isaac Mashman, as this young, ambitious entrepreneur who's figuring life out. And social media content gives people a chance to follow along and support your journey because people, for the most part, naturally want to see you win and see you succeed. So I'll be leveraging social media content to a very high level, a very high degree. And so over the next 12 to 36 months, you'll begin to see a little bit of a shift in how I'm being portrayed, how I am dressing, the car I'm driving, the house I'm living in, the behavior that I'm executing on, the way that I'm speaking, I suppose, mental clarity that I have. Because I can confidently say for the first time in my career, I have 100% clarity in a lot of different avenues. And then as my revenue scales with Mashman Consulting Group and I'm serving more clients and working with more individuals and bringing on more consultants for MCG, we will be the #1 personal brand firm worldwide with a team of 500 consultants by 2035. So having a strong, solid corporate company, even though it's not a corporation, will allow me to back up all of these claims so I'm not just talking out of my butt like a lot of other people online. You follow these people and they say they're serial entrepreneurs, but you can't find their company. They're running away. And I'll continue making offers. For example, until the end of the year, if you fly to Little Rock and work with me, I'll work with you for absolutely free and we'll turn it into a great content fiasco, right? And just making offers and cementing MCG in a corporate manner. So it's not just a small business. No, we are building this into the business that people can work with that is sought after in of itself. So again, building that corporate brand, that business brand outside of my personal brand, which a lot of people get wrong. They rely too heavily on one or the other when there should be a balance somewhere in the middle of this is the person, this is me, and this is the business that I'm associated with. And then ultimately, Mashman Consulting Group being my vehicle, I will take that money and take that revenue to make investments, to start investing in companies and startups and having certain percentage chunks of ownership. I'll start purchasing property. And so this is a game of hierarchy, right? And it's all relative to where you want to be and what level you want to play at. And I want to play at the very highest level because I feel not just that would make me feel good, but it would feel fun. It would be fun. And that's what I want to do. I want to take business and turn it fun. And building my personal brand is a way for me to do exactly that. So guys, I know that this was a very intensive video and I walked through 7 or 8 strategies from public speaking, writing a book, academically publishing a paper, podcast interviews, social media content. I know I'm missing a couple others. Regardless, I wanted to showcase exactly what I'm doing so you can also see that if you were to work with me in a consulting fashion, right, and you were to hire me or hire another consultant, these are the things that we would start considering and thinking about when we're developing your own personal brand. It doesn't matter if you don't want to be a celebrity, but you do need to be a public figure. You do need to be positioned in such a way where people can naturally trust you. I would implore you to take your personal brand seriously and to understand that your reputation takes years to build and only seconds to cut down, just like the greatest oak tree or the greatest redwood, hundreds of years to grow. And within an hour, you can cut it down, and where did all of that life go? Dead, killed, right? And your reputation is the same. I would encourage you to leave a follow, hit the subscribe button, leave a like, connect with me on social media. Do not be a stranger. And I'm really looking forward to showing you how I'm taking where I am today with everything I've done and all of these great successes and taking it to another higher level to where I can hit that celebrity business figure space and to be that individual. Thank you so much. My name is Isaac Mashman. Until next time, much love.